Anyway, we got a video about an anime with a stinky cat. Modern audience is canceling evil chain smoker cat anime and getting brutalized by community notes. That is a long title. I feel like rest titles are getting longer. Maybe that's just me. Anyway, we're going in. Also, please consider liking and subscribing. I appreciate it. Apparently, also, though, it got also canceled by the Japanese audience because, well, I feel like they're not really used to this kind of stuff. Right? Like, this one is the best anti-smoking ad if I've ever seen one. We're going in. I don't know.
Hey, what's up guys, Riff here. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about an anime that is trending for both good and bad reasons. I'm talking about the anime adaptation of the series Chainsmoker Cat, which to many, they believe this is a very honest depiction of themes.
Yep, it is legit, right? It is legit, like a decent depiction of what addiction does to a motherfucker about a woman who smokes. Yep. Heavy addiction. She's essentially just like cat-eared Asmongold before he cleaned up. But that's what he is, essentially.
Themes like depression and addiction. In no way are those themes glamorized in this series. In fact, a lot of people think this is a very candid and brutal look at the effects these sorts of things can have on your mental health. However, as the series has gotten popular in Japan, and most importantly, overseas, a lot of Western users are attacking not only this series, but also Japan generally, using misinformation about fake outrage regarding Japanese fans as an excuse to claim that all the Japanese are a bunch of predators, and that's why they're mad about this series.
If Japanese folk don't have would weep because of the right way of writing. Anyway, if Japanese folk don't have constant shield core and pulmonary dopamine receptors, they don't want it. This is nothing to do with Corin. The problem is just the Japanese audience isn't really used to that. It's not really depicted in Japanese media of how serious addiction is. But obviously these people do not know this because they are uneducated. They do not understand this. This probably I'll never do drug or alcohol. I don't see anything but downsides. It has only downsides. In fact, fun fact, right? If alcohol wasn't as normalized as it is today, if it was discovered today, it would be illegalized. Like at the current standards for drugs, it would get illegalized because it is poisonous, regardless of any job. That's the crazy part, right? Under current law, it would be illegalized if we found it today. It's kind of crazy. That's how bad alcohol is. Probably the same would apply to cigarettes. You'd have to look at that. It's pretty crazy.
Series, I guess. The post people like this are reacting to comes from a supposed anime news source, which just like many is spreading complete falsehoods about this series for clicks on Twitter. In fact, they got hit with a community note dispelling their claims that the Japanese audience is dropping this series for being too disgusting and problematic. Now, when it comes to the anime itself, we're working on episode 2 right now, but when the first episode came out, it was a very sufficient gatekeeper. A lot of people saw the displays of depression and addiction in this first episode, and they tried to claim that seeing this in an anime was somehow glamorizing these sorts of themes. But of course, the outrage surrounding this has existed before the anime adaptation that's currently airing right now. When the manga came out a few years ago, there were malicious posts on social media that was recognized by the series creator, who even considered taking legal action against some of these posts. But of course, when you watch the anime, yes, it does exactly what it is advertising. It is showing a lot of addiction and depression in a very brutal and candid way. And a lot of people...
Pretty much, right? Motherfuckers, when they realize addiction can ruin your life and aren't just quirky character traits. Exactly, though, right? It is addiction. It is literally that. It is literally addiction, and that's it, right? It's crazy. I'll only see myself smoking and drinking if I'm in a war. Even then, because then, you're probably increasing your chance of dying even more. Then you just get shot over while being drunk. Moving on. Yeah, it is literally just like depicting that, and it's like, It really isn't that deep.
People do understand what they're looking at, even if it looks gross to them. They can acknowledge that this is a intentional effort to not glamorize these themes. You see quotes like this saying, Twitter people, when they realize addiction and depression can ruin your life and aren't just funny character traits. Here's another one saying, finally, a realistic depiction of what real depression rooms look like. Romanticized mental health never shows this. I'm happy they are saying the quiet part out loud, speaking from experience, unfortunately, trying to get.
Well, we can look at this actually quite simple. These things are always cute. People always support it. It's cute and quirky, right? Until it's a serious addiction, until it's a serious mental health struggle. Then all of a sudden it grows and stay away from me and like ew, right? This is like a constant issue, I think, right? This is not just like regarding to this anime, but in general, I feel like the so-called socially acceptable side, right? The ones like the social justice wars, the progressives who are like, oh, mental health so important, right? They're usually the ones not only romanticizing it, they're also the ones attacking you if it's really really bad. They're supportive until it gets really really bad.
Better. Here's another one saying this is what depression looks like. Hell, the part of her with her getting overwhelmed with cleaning her room and finding showering a pain is literally how I felt before I started treating my ADHD. Very telling how people are reacting to this. Depression has been romanticized. And that is what a lot of people are doing on social media right now. They are basically misunderstanding the series, and they're trying to claim the series is romanticizing it, assuming if these themes are shown whatsoever, it must be done in a way that is trying to glamorize it. And of course, people are just generally saying it's too gross to watch, right? It's too gross. In fact, it's so gross, this is the worst anime of the year. But of course, you can see replies ratioing this user saying, I don't think people realize what this show is. It's not a romanticization of an addict's life. It's a genuine depiction of living with addiction and depression. You're uncomfortable with it because you haven't struggled with it at this point. The show is a litmus test to see if you guys can have a shred of empathy for a real self-destructive person, and you've obviously failed. And of course, the anime news related accounts like this are quick to swoop in for engagement farming. I don't trust pretty much any of these types of accounts because they're so desperate.
Same, they're so desperate, they're incredibly sensationalized. Right? One of these, like, that's a really popular offender of the situation is Green Rant, right? They do like really weird they do like really weird posters like uh, uh Dragon Ball Super gave Gohan the ability that killed Goku, the ability to kill Goku, and it's like, what are you on about? It's just this, right? It's like they're act. It's just crazy. They're just acting crazy.
To farm clicks and engagement for pennies of Twitter ad revenue. They'll say just about anything. In fact, as we see right here, they'll just make stuff up entirely. So they say Chainsmoker Cat is reportedly being dropped by the Japanese audience for being too disgusting. Now, all of the complaints I've seen, of course, were from Western Twitter users saying it was too disgusting to watch. But of course, this claim about the Japanese audience is completely made up. Completely made up, but this tweet still gets 27,000 likes. But you can see the note saying this. There is no evidence that the Japanese audience has broadly dropped Chainsmoker Cat for being too disgusting.
I've seen some tweets saying it's just too gross, right? But I also feel like that right, we don't have the same culture, right? So it's a bit shunned over there, right? Fair, right? We have that a bit. But I don't think like that the Japanese audience is like in general is like, hey, get this away, harass the creator, whatever. That's not happening.
Disgusting. Japanese reactions are mixed. Some viewers dislike the gross out humor, while others praise the series for committing to to its premise. And if you look at various sites like Nico Video, for example, it was #1 trending among anime. The first episode got that much attention. Of course, some people don't like it, but overall,
Should I watch this? I might watch this, honestly. Might be interesting.
it seems like a lot of people enjoy the series. So any claims being made here that the monolith of the Japanese audience is dropping the series is completely and utterly made up. But of course, when you have an English anime news account like this making a claim that is even slightly negative towards the Japanese, what happens? The usual suspects come out and express their racism towards the Japanese, and these posts are diabolical. Here's one quote saying, "If Japanese folk don't have constant being pumped into their dopamine receptors, they don't want it." So basically, this person is casting an entire blanket over Japan, claiming they're all a bunch of predators, which is very interesting to claim for an individual like this, because if you scroll through their account for 2 seconds, you find them being a hypocrite. I mean, here's them excitedly saying yes, with a picture of Miku and Brazilian Miku making out, which of course she is a canonically underage character. What would make
Ironic, isn't it? Ironic. We'll watch it too. I don't know why they hate it. Because it depicts depression and addiction in a more surreal way, and they don't like that apparently. So all for pro mental health, or right, all pro for mental health until it gets too real. Unless it's no longer fun and quirky.
what would this person be under their own standards that they use to literally demonize an entire group of people over fictional content? And of course, we're far from done. Here's another user saying Japanese anime fans when there's no incest or predatory content in the plot.
This is projection. This is projection. Aren't there many Sonic fans that ship Shadow and Sonic when Sonic is technically canonically a minor, while Shadow is years upon years old? Aren't there people shipping Tails with adult characters too? Kind of ironic coming from a Sonic fan.
Once again, dropping a giant blanket statement on an entire group of people over fictional content, over a post that is literally made up, but any excuse to go after the Japanese, I guess. And if you look at the accounts that are making it, this he, him is yet another hypocrite. You see right here, very.
Oh, yeah. And it gets even funnier, right? This person is a Sonic fan. It means this man is a fan of Japanese media. But obviously, the Japanese, right? The Japanese that make Sonic, obviously not tied to it at all. Personally, cannot watch the show because my parents smoke, and I want to get as far away from anything to do with smoking. My dad still smokes, but aside from that, I think I'm gonna watch it. Sounds fun, honestly.
Very happy to post high school students sleeping together in a different anime. I guess it's okay when this person does it, but when those Japanese viewers do it, it is something that gets their entire population demonized. And then you can see them posting over artwork of the character Toph from Avatar, saying, "I haven't watched Avatar, but she's low-key bad as F." And just in case you need a reminder, this character is 12 years old. What does that make you under your own standard? You probably don't like that, but this is the game that you started. And of course, these people who are the ethical ones watch a cartoon about birds and they immediately think about prostitution. The normal people.
Haven't seen other kids movie imply that make products. That's just crazy work, right? The fact, in fact, you gotta be so coin-brained to even like interpret that into a kids movie. Yeah, sure, buddy. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. When Jimoto Psycho, another anime, you should review it. She smokes, but no one hates it. Probably because it's not depicted in a gross and disgusting way, the way it is in reality, where people who struggle with heavy addiction, depression, neglect everything, right? That's what these people don't like.
Ladies and gentlemen. But But here's some more. Another person saying, incest lollies, predators, okay, mental illness. Whoa, 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 not my cat girl anime. Again, just as a basis here, they are responding to a made up post with a note sitting live on it, but they want any excuse to be racist towards the Japanese. And I find it very ironic that someone who thinks so negatively of Japan has literally dedicated their entire online presence to making artwork in their style. But of course, if you look through their account, well, it gets messy pretty quickly. In fact, they have underage characters from Sailor Moon kissing. This is their own artwork. So, again,
All of this is projection. It is always projection, right? It's always just projection. Moving on.
pot calling the kettle black in this situation. But let's keep it going here. This individual says Japanese chuds are okay with incest predatory content, but draw the line at depression. Again, reacting to a completely made up claim. But if you look at the account here, oh, you see they're from Brazil. Oh, well, maybe you should stop worrying so much about the Japanese when reports like this just dropped.
Brazil recorded 822,892 live births from mothers aged 8 to 17. Yeah, I think if I feel like, you should. Bro is not just sitting. Bro is sitting in a porcelain house, right? Throwing grenades. Bro is sitting in a porcelain house, using a rocket launcher, an atomic bomb, a hydrogen bomb, a fucking supernova. Yeah, you better start, looking at your own country first before you go off the Japanese. Because as far as I'm aware, there is no 8 to 17 births, at least not over 800,000. I don't know about that one.
A few days ago about 800 plus thousand live births in that country from mothers aged 8 to 17. Wow. That's crazy because they don't even have those icky Japanese cartoons over there. I can't believe this is happening. I think you should worry about your own country before you start making blanket statements about an entire country like Japan over fictional content. But here's another user saying the only reason Japanese folks are dropping this anime is that it shows their life outside the office exactly as it is. A pitiful existence. I'm just going to assume this is projection. Also, hammer and sickle, pronouns, you got it all, okay?
Yep. Communist, pronouns, Palestine flag. All of that is in here. All of that is in here. That's wonderful. That's crazy. Okay, well, I heard it funny, right? I don't know. That's crazy. Okay, well, fuck.
Absolutely embarrassing, diabolical people making these claims, but you kind of expected that. Here's another user saying Japanese audiences will slap their bellies over the 50th tentacle grape gag, but draw the line at an addict girl acting like an addict. And then you look at the accounts and, well, their inability to separate fiction from.
Well, that makes sense. They're also not surviving long. Probably. Right? Right? Also, it's funny. I love boobies. You know what's very, very interesting? You want to know what's incredibly very interesting about this? This is a man. This is a biological male who still dates women. So he's probably out there wanting to date lesbians. Which means he is probably trying to groom lesbians into taking D. Moving on. We get this. We know this. Duck Sumax!
Reality seems to make a lot of sense when you look at the person making the claim. But of course, here's another one saying, Sons of B, when the anime doesn't involve sexualizing minors or romanticizing characters with real depression. And this all goes back to the completely made-up claims that started this. And as pointed out here, crazy how you can just make up something with no proof given and phrase it, Japanese people have stopped eating toast with their breakfast, and cash in on Twitter blue money on 1,000 people going, must not have any little girls in it, thinking they're the first guy to say that. Yeah, not only are all these
I also would check the hot drives because it's weird. If like the first thing you see to react to that is children, you're fucked in the head. There's something wrong with you. If the first reaction to seeing this, aside of whether it's fake or not, right? It is fake, but still. Imagine you have people looking at this, and the first thought they go to is, yeah, must not have anything with children in it. That is concerning. Hot take. These are this could be considered under the umbrella of PDF. Because why is your first thought? Anyway, what? Yeah, fun fact. A lot of these people, these trans men, don't want to date trans women don't actually want to date other trans women or men. They want to date lesbian or straight women. Moving on. While still being called a woman and being in a lesbian relationship, which doesn't work because lesbians must both must be biologically female for this to work. Cuties, outrageous.
quotes completely unoriginal and racist. They're just downright pathetic in every sense of the way. They can't even attempt to check the claim before they start reacting in a racist tone towards it, right? A lot of these people making these quotes with the note already attached. Like, there is evidence on the post itself. The claims are made up, but they saw such a golden opportunity to make racist claims, they literally couldn't help themselves. So here we are. You can thank accounts like this for starting a landslide of negativity towards this series. They're all missing the plot in many literal sense. They don't understand what this anime is even trying to do. They don't really care. They just see it as an
It's also not right. They're not even engaging with the post itself, right? Even if the post is made up, right? They're not engaging with the post, which is crazy, right? It's just making shit up.
opportunity to say vile things about Japan, but many such cases, unfortunately. But for now, that's going to do it for this video. If you enjoyed, please consider giving the video a like, consider subscribing.
Yeah, that's the end of the video. So pretty much, we just have people being racist to the Japanese, not reading, not understand, not first of all, not making. My brain's fried for a second. Give me some moment to restart. First of all, we have people being racist to the Japanese. Then second, people react to a fake post. Third, they're not even engaging with the fake post. They're also not engaging with the community node. Kind of crazy. Anyway, wonderful.